Hey everybody, welcome back and welcome to the first episode in the new house, the new studio. Still getting everything unpacked and set up, but man, just having the extra space here and the land, it's just really been incredible, the peace and quiet for once. But I really think going forward, I will definitely be able to put out some better quality videos for you guys. So I just want to say to everyone out there watching, thank you very much. Today is obviously a special video, and I've got a very special piece of gear I want to share with you. It's this ridiculous Fender stack back here. It's a 1969 dual Showman Reverb TFL 5000D, and I just got it back from my repair guy down in Norman, Oklahoma. We went ahead and replaced everything inside that was out of spec, added a new 3-prong cable and a new set of tubes because this thing was 100% stock when I got it. And I really wanted to get this thing up and running so that I could use it for some more videos, maybe play it live again someday. And then I also intended to use it on the record we were set to record this year, but we'll see what happens there. So anyhow, for today's video, I want to put this thing through its paces and show you guys how it sounds at 100%, because I really feel like this is kind of the pinnacle of Fender amp design. And personally, I think this might be the greatest Fender clean tone I have ever heard. So we can argue that one out in the comments. I'll start out with giving you guys a quick sound test of the clean tone, and then we will go from there. So hopefully it comes across in this video. It's sometimes difficult to record really loud guitars, but to me it just has this really huge, rich, blooming, clean sound. It is really, really clean. Some people might hear it as being kind of stale and ice picky, but I think it's a really great Fender clean tone. The reverb is really lush. I think it's a combination of the amp circuit and the speaker choice here. It's basically a twin reverb in a head cabinet, and this is a transitional silverface model, so it's really similar to the earlier blackface versions, and some guys will even convert these to blackface specs. I did not do that here. I found that it sounded great as is, and with these transitional models, they're all kind of unique in themselves, so I didn't do a thing to it in that regard. Now, the speakers here are really what makes this amp one of a kind. I don't know that any other amp manufacturers for the time were doing this, but it has a massive oversized cabinet and a 2x15 JBL D130 combo, and these speakers are iconic. They are Alnico magnets, and you've probably heard them on tons and tons of records from the 60s, 70s, and on. And I remember when I plugged it in and played it for the first time, that is immediately what I heard. I mean, the twin reverb, maybe the most iconic Fender amp, and paired with these JBL D130s, it's just that sound. The other thing this amp does really well is it stays tight the whole time. And I love super reverbs, but my one complaint is they do kind of flub out and get loose in the low end. But with this amp, you can take a low E string and just thump it, and it is the tightest low-end sound I have ever heard. So I really dig that. I want to put an overdrive pedal in front of it and show you guys how massive sounding this amp really can be. So we'll do that, and then I want to talk about some of the history of it and a few more of the details. So hopefully it sounds as good as it does in the room, but one thing I've noticed about this thing, which is just crazy, is when you go to a live concert, you know, you can feel the subs coming off the stage and kind of vibrating, you know. That's how this thing feels, but with a guitar, which I've never really experienced with any of the other amps I've had. Maybe it's a 100-watt thing. I really think it's the 15-inch speakers that they just move air, so to say, and you can feel the notes. And for me personally, I feel like that's something that I've grown up used to, and playing with that extra touch sensitivity and that feel that you get when you're playing live in a room with a tube amplifier. I just don't think that can be modeled by these new amp modelers that are coming out. I've heard them. They actually can really replicate the tone really closely, but for me, there's something I just love about that interaction that you get with a tube amp playing live and loud. So in the past 8 months or so of owning this thing, I've done a lot of research on it, learned about all the players that use them, from Albert King to Eric Clapton, David Gilmour in studio. Jimi Hendrix used the earlier version of these amps that didn't have reverb. I even read a story that Chuck Berry asked for 2 of these in his rider for all of his live performances, and I can only imagine what Chuck Berry sounds with the 335 through these amps together. But for what they are, I think they are kind of unrecognized and still inexpensive, especially if you can find one locally, because they're kind of difficult to ship, so you can really get a good deal on them. I was able to find this really cheap out in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma, of all places. And when I bought the amp, I actually did film the process and bringing it home and playing it for the first time when it was totally 100% original. So if you want to check out that video, I'll link it down below. But the point is, even though this thing is kind of a dinosaur and a bit impractical for playing live, I think you can get one of these relatively inexpensively as something just to mess around with or use in the studio. Well, I think that about covers it for today, guys. I am just going to play this one out and have some fun, nothing too serious. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your opinion on this amp and the clean tones, if you think there's anything better. As pointed out in the original video on this, there is an amp called a PS400 that Fender came out with later, I think late 70s when they went into production. They were really marketed as a bass amp and completely impractical. You had to run like 3 different stacks of speakers to get the full wattage out of them. Just totally useless. They did not sell. That's kind of the biggest Fender amp that ever was, but so you may feel like maybe that one would be better. If I could get my hands on one, I would definitely test it out. But I just think in terms of, you know, a still slightly usable Fender amp, I think this is the greatest one ever. And if I'm right, I think this is probably the only one with 2x15 JBLs, and in the perfect time frame where you got the D130s as well, which I think is maybe the greatest speaker ever. So anyhow, yes, like I said, love to hear from you guys on it, whatever your opinion may be. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, all right? Peace.